people go to God, especially when they get in trouble. And, you know, when I heard the jail doors closed behind me.
We just want to continue to encourage people to grow closer to God. So it's been amazing. Ever since I was fortunate enough to get involved with the Hallow app right around the release of Father Stu.
We hear all the time that if you talk about your faith as an actor, that that can remove you from different parts and different opportunities. But
That'd be really hard for him, considering the part.
What was your reaction to breaking history with this app?
Oh, it was awesome. I mean, it was just, you know, I think Hallow is filling a need, and to be able to, you know, see the expression of that in a commercial during the Super Bowl and know that so many people want to get connected to God, want to have a deeper relationship. They want to improve their prayer life, and the fact that Hallow can actually help them achieve that in ways that are so meaningful, it's just music to my ears.
Hollywood has always prided itself in the ability to turn a list actors into religious puppets. Once they get the most awarded act to publicly profess Christianity is biased and imperfect, they make others run with the narrative. But the moment they turned their attention to Mark Wahlberg, he dropped an explosive revelation that made the whole industry realize just how deeply flawed they were.
App called Hallow.
And I just looked up in the rafters, and there's Jonathan Roumie, who plays Jesus on The Chosen. So we're, as to say, Jonathan Roumie was at the gym this morning at our hotel. We had mass together, but, you know, I definitely make a point to get my rest. The schedule has kind of taken on a life of its own and gotten a little crazy. Happy Ash Wednesday, everybody. Stay prayed up. Happy Valentine's Day. Spread that love. Stay prayed up.
I love when you're here and we get to talk about this side of you, because I think it's not one that people may know about.
I think it might surprise some people to see you here talking about your faith.
Whilst on an exclusive interview together with Jonathan Roumie, Mark didn't hold back one bit. Watch how he carefully exposed the industry's emptiness, its fear of truth, and why Jesus is the one name they can't erase.
Fasting. Mark, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I love when you're here and we get to talk about this side of you, because I think it's not one that people may know about. Talk to me about what you're doing with this fasting, because most people think of fasting and they think not eating.
Yes.
Giving up eating. But fasting can be a spiritual practice. Tell me about it.
Yes, I mean, there are many different elements to fasting, and I think the important thing to understand is if you have issues with food, there are other things. God knows the things that he wants you to detach from. You know, we all know those things that are make us feel guilty, don't make us feel as good as we should. So being able to detach from those things and focus on, good habits as opposed to...
Mark Wahlberg didn't just mention Jesus. He dragged Hollywood's elites into the light and left them squirming. For an industry built on vanity, greed, and self-indulgence, Wahlberg's unapologetic faith is a threat they can't control.
To bad habits. So there are challenges for fasting. Like today, I won't have any meat. I'll have one meal today, and I'll do that every Friday throughout Lent and Good Friday. But just challenging people to be better versions of themselves.
It's interesting because I was telling you before, I grew up in a faith background, but not Catholic, so I have never given up something for Lent. Yeah. This year I did. Now, because I'm not a good Catholic, I thought it was last week, so I actually started last Wednesday.
Wow. So you got a head start on everybody.
Overachieving, yes, but I decided I gave up Instagram just because I thought, you know what, I'd like to use the time I might be just scrolling to be doing something else more reflective and thoughtful. And I found Lent to be interesting because it doesn't have to mean deprivation. It can just mean choosing something else that serves you and connects you to your...
Hollywood thrives on indulgence, but Wahlberg exposes its emptiness. He speaks about fasting, self-discipline, and spiritual sacrifice, concepts completely foreign to an industry obsessed with excess.
Talking about their faith.
Happy Ash Wednesday to everybody. Make sure the Catholic, you go get your ashes. God bless everybody. People always ask, what are you going to give up for Lent? And I think more importantly, let's try to do more love, more peace, more acceptance, more caring, and more kindness.
Talk to me about what you're doing with this fasting, because most people think of fasting and they think not eating.
Yes.
Giving up eating.
By culture. Well, I had to make the choice personally, and then I had to focus on my faith.
And my faith has really allowed me to overcome.
Hollywood worships instant gratification, but Wahlberg reminded them that true strength comes from denying the flesh, not indulging it. If people start looking beyond materialism, the industry loses its grip. That alone shakes Hollywood's foundation.
Faith in your community better.
Yes, and ultimately, I just think it gives me, discipline has always been important for me in life. Once I started getting into movies and transitioned from music, I realized I needed a lot of discipline in my life, and that discipline has afforded me so many other things, and I've been rewarded for it so much, and I want to share that with people. So whether that's with fasting, working out more, detaching from other things, and just spending more time with God in prayer or in thoughtful reflection. And those
faith is dangerous when it can't be silenced. And Wahlberg refuses to deny his faith for the sake of Hollywood's comfort. He calls it a bigger sin to stay silent than to offend the elites. That's exactly why they hate him, because his belief is louder than their agenda. The moment an A-list actor publicly prioritizes God over the industry, the illusion starts to crumble.
things are important, so.
Your faith means so much to you. Have you always talked about it, or did you feel at some point like, okay, I have a platform here and I just want to share this part of my journey?
I have. You know, it's a balance. I don't want to jam it down anybody's throat, but I do not deny my faith. That's an even bigger sin. You know, it's not popular in my industry, but, you know, I cannot deny my faith. It's important for me to share that with people, but I have friends from all walks of life and all different types of faiths and religions. So, you know, it's important to respect and honor them as well.
Yeah. What does it mean to you, your faith?
Oh, it's everything. It really has. It's afforded.
Hollywood wants comfort, but faith demands struggle. Wahlberg declares, "We're not made for comfort. We're made for greatness." That alone destroys Hollywood's entire philosophy. They push the lie that life should be easy, that happiness comes from wealth, fame, and personal freedom. But Wahlberg's message is the opposite.
So many things. Obviously, you know, God didn't come to save the saints. He came to save the sinners. We've all had things and issues in our lives, and we want to be better versions of ourselves. And through focusing my faith, it's allowed me to do that. And I know a lot of people have been challenged with COVID and everything else. I mean, I was away from people and church and community and connection for a long time. But, you know, with people who are wearing masks and who want to, you know, stay away from each other, we want to bring people together.
Community is a big part of a faith practice, absolutely.
And the world affords you a lot of comfort, but we're not made for comfort. We're made for greatness. And in order to be greatness, we got to be in the fight to get the rewards.
Well, I've checked out the app. It's really, it's a great way to jumpstart your own reflections. Now, here you are on a morning show. Most of our guests who come on, I apologize. I say, I'm sorry about these hours. But you wake up, you still wake up at...
Struggle is necessary. Sacrifice is required, and faith calls for battle. It's a truth Hollywood cannot accept, because it exposes their shallow, feel-good ideology as a fraud.
All walks of life and all different types of faiths and religions. So, you know, it's important to respect and honor them as well.
Yeah. What does it mean to you, your faith?
Oh, it's everything. It really has. It's afforded me so many things. Obviously, you know, God didn't come to save the saints. He came to save the sinners. We've all had things and issues in our lives, and we want to be better versions of ourselves. And through focusing my faith, it's allowed me to do that. And I know a lot of people have been challenged with COVID and everything else. I mean, I was away from people and church and community and connection for a long time. But, you know, with people who are wearing masks and who want to, you know, stay away from each other, we want to bring people together.
Community is a big part of a faith practice, absolutely.
And the world
Christianity stands in direct opposition to Hollywood's false gods. The industry's biggest fear is a celebrity who bows to Christ instead of culture. Wahlberg reminds them that Jesus didn't come for the perfect, he came for sinners. That message terrifies Hollywood because it strips away their power. They control people through guilt and shame, convincing them they need validation, social acceptance, and endless self-improvement. But Christianity offers redemption freely, bypassing Hollywood's moral gatekeeping.
A lot of comfort, but we're not made for comfort. We're made for greatness. And in order to be greatness, we got to be in the fight to get the rewards.
Well, I've checked out the app. It's really, it's a great way to jumpstart your own reflections. Now, here you are on a morning show. Most of our guests who come on, I apologize. I say, I'm sorry about these hours. But you wake up, you still wake up at 2:30 in the morning?
So again, if
Have you been slacking till 4?
You know what? Today I woke up at 4:30. It really depends, but today's not a workout day for me, and I just came from not the West Coast, but the Midwest, and so it really depends. I definitely have to get 8 hours, and like winning the morning, getting up early, all of these things can be challenges that you can put for yourself, and those are again between you and God. So challenging yourself to get up a little earlier, have some reflection time, and get after it. If you got a head start, like you said, you started a week early.
Yeah.
You're so far ahead right now.
Well, I have to do my best. I mean, the only reason I even announced that I'm quitting Instagram is so that I would be accountable to it.
Yes.
Because then if I get back on, everybody's going to know.
When Wahlberg shares this truth, he's shattering the illusion they've spent decades building. Faith over career is Wahlberg's ultimate rebellion. Hollywood is a machine that rewards compliance and punishes conviction. Wahlberg knows this, yet he openly talks about prayer, attending Mass, and raising his children with faith. He doesn't force religion on them. He leads by example. That's the greatest challenge to Hollywood's influence. If people see a man of faith thriving without selling his soul, the industry loses its control.
Oh, it'll be waiting for me.
It's the same thing with me. I can't wait to really get into a health kick and I'm known for being healthy, but like I'm looking forward to now reconnecting with people, going back to Mass regularly. It's exciting. I woke up today like I would feel like the same enthusiasm for Christmas when I was a kid.
It feels good when you know you're walking on the path you're meant to. By the way, you moved to Nevada.
Yes.
Tell me about that. The whole fam, everybody?
Yep.
Yeah?
The kids pursuing their interests. My daughter in her equestrian life, my son as hopefully a future professional golfer. My other son now is a junior. My daughter is in college. We needed to change.
4 teenagers.
Mark Wahlberg didn't just discuss faith. He weaponized it against an industry built on godlessness. He made it clear that Hollywood's values are temporary, but faith is eternal. While others chase relevance, Wahlberg stands firm in truth, proving that real success isn't measured by fame, but by faithfulness. That's why Hollywood can't stand him, because he's living proof they've already lost the battle.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. That right there was truly the voice of an angel.
But that's nothing compared to this next interview, where Wahlberg completely destroys his argument.
God bless you.
God bless you. I've had the privilege of talking to you before. Yeah. This role, this film was just it really touched me. It reminded me of myself, grew up in the hood, moved to Hollywood to become a pop star, found Jesus, now I'm a pastor's wife.
Amen.
And
God
just some of the scenes in the church.
What a journey.
And some of the scenes in the church and how he reacted initially, that was how I did. Mark, I know you're a man of faith, and I love that about you. Can you talk about the transforming power of Christ?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I feel it every day.
Mark Wahlberg just did what Hollywood fears the most. He spoke about Jesus without shame, without apology, and without asking for their permission. In an industry that thrives on ego, excess, and empty promises, Wahlberg turned the script upside down and reminded them of something they've been trying to erase for years. Faith still wins.
Now more than ever, people ask me, he says, when's the last time that your faith was questioned or anything? And it was in the pandemic, I couldn't go to church anymore. I lost communication and touch with people that really kind of helped me every day, remind me of the importance of my faith and just going to church every day and praying and going to Mass every weekend. And then when I started making this movie again, which was always a mission of mine to get made, it all started coming back to me, and especially the responsibility. It's all this talent, and especially the gifts that have been bestowed upon me and the blessings have been for a reason. And it's not to kind of go off and do another 5 Transformers. This was part of the calling, right?
Hollywood loves power, but Wahlberg showed them a different kind of power, one that doesn't come from money, status, or influence. He spoke about how faith carried him through challenges, how it gave him discipline, and how it shaped his career.
But then he whispered in my ear that he loved the movie Ted. And I told him that was not appropriate for a boy of his age. Holy Father, please forgive me. I've always hoped that the good Lord has a sense of humor when it comes and pertains to many.
That's the kind of talk that makes Hollywood nervous because it exposes the truth they don't want people to hear. If faith can make a man successful without selling his soul, then what does that say about the industry's way of doing things? It shatters the illusion.
This movie came to me at a time when I was prepared enough to be able to do it justice and to be able to go out there and articulate the message and the meaning behind it. And at a time where there's so much divide and there's so much, negativity that's amplified, and there's the love is on such a low frequency, and this is a movie about redemption, and no person is beyond redemption as long as they're willing to repent and they have good intentions in their heart and they want.
Wahlberg isn't just talking about faith, he's living it, and that's what terrifies them. When the pandemic cut him off from church, he felt the weight of spiritual isolation. He realized how much Hollywood drowns people in distractions, keeping them too busy, too entertained, and too numb to hear God's voice. But instead of letting it pull him away, he used it to reignite his purpose.
Tom Cruise is a big Barabbas fan, isn't he?
I don't know.
Tom Cruise, do you not know him?
We attend different churches, so I don't know. The one,
He wasn't put on this earth to do 5 more action movies. He was put here to spread the truth, and nothing was going to stop him from doing it.
And so, I'm just glad that I was able to get it made. I'm glad that it's resonating with everybody because everybody can identify with this story in some sort of way. We're all dealing with loss, uncertainty, lack of faith, hope, just questions of why things happen. And to be able to see somebody handle it with such grace in some of the most difficult and trying times after being through so much, it's really, it gives people a lot of hope.
Yeah. What was so powerful about Father Stu was the fight that he had in him. He started that way. But, there was like door shut after door shut or no after no.
He spoke about how Hollywood conditions people to believe that success is about how much you gain, but faith teaches the opposite. Real success isn't about what you accumulate. It's about what you sacrifice. Wahlberg shared his thoughts on fasting, prayer, and the need for self-discipline, things that make Hollywood's elites uncomfortable because they challenge everything the industry promotes. While they preach indulgence, Wahlberg preaches restraint. While they glorify self-worship, he glorifies God. That's the kind of message that makes Hollywood panic because it threatens the system they've built.
In these times?
Of course. I think, it's those kind of losses and that kind of adversity though that make you stronger. I think challenges will only make you better if you're willing to get up again and dust yourself off and go out there and continue to compete. I think I certainly was not supposed to be in the position that I am. I just never took no for an answer, and I never listened to what people thought or what they said. I just always felt like it was up to me to prove myself by doing the work, right? And day by day, job by job, moment by moment on my knees, just trying to better myself as a person, and then as a father and as a husband. Doing the work, is the things that have allowed me to achieve.
Hollywood thrives on division, but Wahlberg is talking about redemption. He says no one is beyond saving if they're willing to repent. That one statement alone is a nuclear bomb in an industry that cancels people without mercy.
I quit school at 13, ended up getting into a lot of trouble, being incarcerated, tried as an adult at 16, and that was a big wake-up call for me, Father, so I decided, I needed to turn my life around. A lot of people go to God, especially when they get in trouble, and when I heard the jail doors close behind me, I started praying right away. But I knew that was just the beginning for me, because I knew I really wanted to turn my life around, and I made a commitment that at that day. That's why I start my day every day by getting on my hands and my knees and starting a time of prayer and reading scripture, and then I feel like I can go out there and conquer the world.
Hollywood offers fake morality. It builds people up just to tear them down. But Wahlberg, he's talking about something real. He's talking about grace, about how God doesn't discard people the way Hollywood does. That kind of message is dangerous to an industry that controls people through fear.
Success, or to be able to handle loss and disappointment and failure and all of those things and allow me to keep going and keep pushing, you know? But my destiny is different from everybody else's destiny, right? How it's written was not by me, right? It's how for me to go out there and kind of go through the motions. But, you know, this is God's doing.
Last thing, you preach in the film, as fathers do, about forgiveness in the jail and at the end. Talk about that, the little preacher that came out.
They've tried to box him in. They've tried to label him. But Wahlberg refuses to be defined by Hollywood standards. He knows exactly where his talent and success come from, and it's not from the elites in their ivory towers. He understands that every opportunity, every blessing, and every moment in the spotlight is not for his own glory, but for something much bigger. That's why they can't control him. He's not playing their game.
Oh, you know what? Especially in the jail. You know, DeAndre Bonds, who's a friend of mine, and I know he's been through a lot. And asking him to come and play this very small part for me was really meaningful to me. But I felt like, you know, these were people that could relate to Stu. These are people that this could easily have been Stu. This was Stu's life, and that was my life. And so most of that, you know, there's a bit of dialogue in the beginning, but the message that I'm giving them was all improvised. You know, and that's just me talking to them from the heart and just telling them, you know, that God's not going to give up on them and don't give up on themselves. And that's a very important thing, because when you have nobody to root for you or to support you, that's the most difficult thing. You know, people need to know that people care, that people love them and support them, and they're rooting for them, and they want them to see them do good.
In the end, Wahlberg made one thing clear: Hollywood didn't make him, and Hollywood can't break him. His path was never written by studio executives. It was written by God. And no matter how much they try to suppress the truth, men like Wahlberg will keep standing up, keep speaking out, and keep reminding the world that Jesus isn't going anywhere. Hollywood may hold the cameras, but the real script belongs to God. And Wahlberg is making sure the world doesn't forget it. Kindly let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't hesitate to like and subscribe to our channel to get more videos from us.